Hi, everyone. In this video, we'll be going through a few different hands-on adjustments and assists to help your students during practice. So for our first one, we have Victoria here, who's an amazing yoga practitioner, but she'll start us off with Warrior Two in a way that is maybe not such a great version. Perfect. So when you have a student who's maybe struggling a little bit with a posture, it's best to start with the ground up, and best to start with your verbal cues. So first we'll look at her front foot, give her that cue of turning your front toes towards the front of the mat. And turning the back foot so the back edge is lined up with the back of the mat. So she didn't need any hands-on assist for that or adjustment, but if she didn't quite understand, you can always give a little tap to the foot. And then working our way up, we might notice that the knee is dropping in. That's very common with a lot of our students. So first you could just say bringing that knee back or bringing that knee back towards my hand. So she can notice that that knee drops towards your hand. If she doesn't quite get that, you could always give a little tap to the knee just to give her that cue, that hands-on cue of bringing that knee back. And then still working our way up, lengthening out through these arms, stretching out through your fingertips, looking out over your fingers, shoulders drop down. And one more thing that you might see with your students, sometimes they're reaching forward like they're sword fighting. And so you can just give a little tug to this back hand to bring them back into position. And then she's in a great position for her Warrior Two. Perfect. And for our next one, we'll be doing triangle pose. So what you may notice with many of your students in triangle pose is that their belly, their chest faces towards the ground rather than opening and stacking the shoulders. So you can begin first by giving them that verbal cue of drawing the top shoulder back, opening through the chest, stacking the shoulders one on top of the other. And Victoria's an amazing student, so she gets that right away. A lot of students might stay right here and stay in that kind of awkward position. So if you'd like to give them a hands-on adjustment, you can use your hand, just give them a little tug on the wrist as you're giving them that cue of lifting up through the chest, turning the chest and the belly towards the space in front of them. You can also use your hand on their shoulder, keep lifting up through this arm, pulling the shoulder back. So giving them that feeling of lengthening, of keeping the belly and the chest open towards that space in front of them. Perfect. For our next one, we'll be doing pyramid pose. So coming into pyramid, what you may notice with your students is sometimes their bottom sticking out, they're shifting their hip way back. Maybe not quite so much this, but it can be almost to this point. And you can start by giving them the verbal cue. So if their right foot is forward, you can say pulling the right hip back, the left hip forward, lifting up through the chest, and then pressing back through the hips as you drop your chest down. So keep that nice alignment. If they don't quite get that, if they're still a little bit off center, you can come up behind them. And again, you've already checked that they're okay with your hands-on adjustments. And then just using your hands, squaring their hips forward, pulling the right hip back and the left hip forward, and encouraging them to keep their legs as straight as they can. And then dropping the head down and staying here in this pyramid. Our next one is downward facing dog. And what you'll see with many of your students in down dog is they'll tend to round the back. Typically it's due to tight hamstrings. So the first thing you can do is give them the verbal cue of bending your knees and bringing your belly towards your thighs, and that'll help kind of flatten out their back, put them into better alignment. If they don't quite get that, if you gave that cue and they're still rounding through their back, you can come up behind them. Again, you check that it's okay with them for you to give hands-on adjustments. And then just using your body weight, kind of lean back into it as you pull their hips back. The other way that you can do this is from the front and using the heels of your hands and just bringing your hands towards their pelvis and pressing their pelvis kind of up and back, bringing them into this flat back and into that more neutral spine. Nice. The next one we'll be doing a standing forward fold. So often when your students, some students, when they're doing a standing forward fold, they might hyperextend in the neck, keep looking forward, and they might not hinge from their hip at all, but just round from their back. So keeping that pelvis in that upright position. And this is going to put a lot of strain on the back, a lot of strain on the neck. So we can begin by starting with some verbal cues, giving them the cue to bend through your knees a bit more, dropping your hands down towards the ground, keeping your knees as wide as your ankles, and then dropping your head down, coming into this forward fold, looking between your legs to that space behind you. So if they don't quite get that with the verbal cues, then you can move on to a hands-on adjustment. So if they're here and you're giving that cue, you can remind them again to bend through the knees, keeping their knees about as far apart as their ankles. And then as they come down a little bit, just sliding your hand down to remind them to drop through the chest and then drop through their head, tucking their chin towards their chest so that the back of the neck stays long so they can relax into this. And that looks perfect. So for the next few postures, we're going to just go over some ways you can assist your student to go deeper into a posture. So not necessarily adjust what they're doing, but just assist them to go a little bit further. So for this first one, Victoria is going to come into locust, and maybe she wants to go a bit further. And she might have indicated that she'd like to go further and would like an assist. So I'm going to reach down. She's going to grab my wrist. I'll bend in my knees and press back through my hips, simply using my body weight to bring her up a little bit more. So rather than pulling her, I'm just using my body weight here. And then when she's ready to come down, I'll slowly begin to lean forward, bringing her back down nice and easy, coming back into her locust and then coming all the way down to the ground. Perfect. For our next posture, looking at assisting our student, we'll go through child's pose. So your student may want some help going a little bit deeper into child's pose. If they've requested that, you can come up behind them, placing your hands kind of on either side of the sacrum, taking a breath in, and encouraging them to take that deep breath in, and then on the exhale, pressing down and away with your hands to help them go a little bit deeper into that child's pose and into that stretch. You can also just easily walk your hands up either side of their spine, not putting too much weight into this, just nice, easy to help them go a little bit lower into this posture, and walking your hands back up, giving them that press one more time as they exhale, and then slowly coming all the way back up and letting them stay in that child's pose. So for our next one is Janu Sirsasana, or kind of a one-legged seated forward fold. So what you may notice for many of the seated forward folds is that a number of your students may tend to lean back, kind of tuck their tailbone under, round through their back, kind of bring their pelvis in that posterior tilt, that backwards tilt. We want their pelvis to be tilting forward. So to help them with this, you can give them first the verbal cue of placing your hands on either side of your hips and pressing down through your hands, lifting your bottom off the ground and kind of scooting back so that you come onto the front part of your sitting bones, bending your knee of that straight leg and bringing your belly onto your thigh. And this will help create a more neutral spine to help bring them forward in this more neutral position. And then as she goes down, so she can come into her posture now, your student may want to then have an assist to go a little bit deeper into this posture. So to help them with that, can have them take a deep breath in. And then as they exhale, bending your knees, just using your body weight a little bit to help press them forward and down as they go into this. And you can do one hand at a time as they go a little bit further forward. Pause here. And then when you're ready, just kind of walk your hands back and slowly come back, leaving them in that posture until they're ready to come back up. Okay, our next one is a seated twist. And so for this, we're just going to look at ways you can help your students go a little bit deeper into any type of seated twist. So from here, you can bend down, squat down, get in line with your student. And then the direction that they're turning, you'll place that hand on the front of that shoulder. The other hand will go just under their shoulder blade. And with that hand that's under the shoulder blade, you're pressing up and forward as you're pulling the shoulder back, helping them go into that twist a bit more, and also reminding them to lift up through the crown of the head and then twist as they exhale, maintaining that one straight line from the crown of the head all the way down through their sitting bones. Perfect. So for this next one, we'll be doing a reclined hip opener, which is really just our figure 4, just another variation of pigeon in a way. So from here, she'll bring her right ankle, cross it just above the left knee, bring her left leg back towards her. Her hands can go either behind that thigh or in front of the shin. If she wants some assist to go a bit deeper into this, then she can place her hands behind that thigh. And you can come up, place her foot just on your thigh here, and use your weight to kind of push that knee in towards her a bit more. So that's going to help her go a little bit further into this. If she wants even more focus on those rotator muscles in the back of the hip, you use your hand to pull that bent knee towards you. You can also, depending on the size of your student, you might be holding their foot. And again, you might hold it with your hand. You might use a towel if you prefer. You don't want to touch people's feet, and then pressing the knee in towards her as you pull that other knee towards you. And you're in a nice stable position, not pulling too hard. You're just going to that point of motion where you can feel that the softness ends and that she needs to stop at that point. Very good. So this next one is any kind of hamstring stretch line on your back. So Victoria is lifting one leg up, and first you want to see maybe their knee is bent a bit. So to help them straighten that leg, you can use your knee and kind of straighten out that leg, flexing their foot, and then pressing that foot to the side towards them as you keep pressing your knee into their thigh a little bit to keep that knee straight. Inhaling, she's going to flex her foot, and exhaling, bringing that leg a little bit closer towards her. Perfect. Our next one will be a lying down or reclined twist. So Victoria will go into this one-legged twist. And what you may notice with a lot of your students is they don't maybe go fully into the twist. They just hang out. So one thing you can do to just remind them to go a little bit further is encourage them to keep their shoulder blades, keep their back flat on the ground, and then just giving them a little tap to remind them to drop that knee down. So if they want to go a bit further and they would like an assist with this twist, you can come behind them. Use one hand to help keep that back arm in place, help keep their shoulder blades on the ground. The other hand can be just behind their hip. They take a breath in, and then on the exhalation, just pressing that hip a little bit forward as you keep their back arm on the ground to help them twist into this a little bit deeper. Perfect. Okay, for our last one, we'll be doing Shavasana and ways to assist your student to go a little bit deeper, get a little bit more relaxed in their Shavasana. You can begin by reaching down for their ankles and just lifting their feet a little bit off the ground, swaying them from side to side. That'll help release any tension in the low back as you bring their feet back down, and just pressing their feet down and out to help release through the hips. And then coming around to the front towards her shoulders and squatting down, bringing your hands to her upper arms, bringing hands to her shoulders as she inhales, and then exhaling, pressing down on the shoulders to help release through the shoulders, through the upper back. And then from here, you could even bring your hands just under the base of her skull, give a little pull to help release through the back of the neck. And then slowly move away from your student, and she is ready for her Shavasana. Thank you, everyone.